Hello, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Musings with Mayuri. So, today we will be seeing current affairs of 11 July 2026. If you want to join my Telegram channel, this is the name Musings with Mayuri. You may search and join it. Okay. The first topic for today is not to profile rhinos through DNA indexing. So, this is the news snippet, and here we'll be studying two terms. One is about the one horned rhinoceros, and one is about DNA indexing. So, the one horned rhinoceros, its scientific name, you don't have to read nor remember this. Its IUCN status is vulnerable. It is in Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act, included in Appendix 1 of CITES. These three are very, very important. Please try and remember. Okay. It has a single black horn, if you can see here in the image. Okay. And its skin is gray brown in color with folds. You can see it. The color looks grayish to brown, as well as there are folds on its body. Now it is found in small habitats in Indo-Nepal, Terai, and northern West Bengal and Assam. In India, it is found in three states, that is Assam, West Bengal, as well as Uttar Pradesh. One important thing I want to tell here is, see, this animal is not endemic to India. Endemic means it is only found in one place. Okay, this is not endemic. Okay, I'm sorry, this is not endemic, because if you can see, it is also found in the Indo Nepal Terai. Okay, that means it is found in the Nepal region as well. So it is not endemic to India. Okay, now I have listed two questions here. You will write the answers to both these questions in the comments below. So the first one is, which national park has the maximum number of one-horned rhinoceros in the world? Okay, this is in India only. Please remember maximum number. Second is, which national park has the highest density of one-horned rhinoceros in the world? Even this is in India. Okay. Next is DNA indexing. So, DNA indexing simply means creating genetic profile of any particular organism. Okay, here it is in the context of one-horned rhinoceros. So, what will happen is, see, what is happening actually is these one-horned rhinoceros are poached because of their horns. Okay, these horns are believed to have some medicinal properties, etc. So that is why they are poached. Now, when they make genetic profile of the rhino, if the animal is poached and if the horn is found in some location, they will be able to properly trace that this particular horn belongs to which rhino. So that is how they want to control this poaching activities and wildlife crime. Okay, wildlife crime investigations basically. Clear? The next topic for today is, Great Indian Bustard numbers stable, survives in only 16% of Thar habitat, says report. So we will study about the Great Indian Bustard. Again, scientific name not important. Its IUCN status is critically endangered. Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act, Appendix 1 of CITES, Appendix 1 of CMS as well. Okay, about the species, it's a flagship species. It represents health of grassland ecosystems, and it is one of the heaviest flying birds in the world. So it is found in Rajasthan's Thar desert. Small populations are also found in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Andhra Pradesh, found in extremely small numbers in Pakistan. So again, this bird is not endemic to India. Okay, not endemic. Please remember this because it is also found in Pakistan. Now there are two questions. First, is the Great Indian Bustard endemic to India or the Indian subcontinent? You will answer this. Second question is the Great Indian Bustard native to India? One task I've given here is, you will find out the difference between the terms endemic as well as native and post it in the comments. Clear? See, why I'm giving you these tasks is, what happens is after 2026 prelims, people are feeling that they have to read more and more resources for current affairs, but that is not the case. Whatever little we are reading, we should also be able to dive a little bit deep and try reading between the lines. Like for example, the Great Indian Bustard, they are just doing some research with regard to that, and they published this data we saw, right? It survives only in 16% of Thar habitat. So this headline is so much only, but we'll have to read between the lines, that is what is Great Indian Bustard. And after seeing about the Great Indian Bustard, we will also see if it is native, it is not endemic, etc. So all these things we'll have to do. Okay, we don't have to chase more resources. Clear? Next is about Typhoon Bavi lashes Japan's southern islands. Landslide kills 15 in Philippines. So okay, this is not important. So it has lashed southern islands of Japan. Now we will see this. So the name of the island is Sakishima Islands. It is located between the southern border of the East China Sea and northwestern border of the Philippine Sea. I have attached the snippets, we'll see them. So if you can see, here are the Sakishima Islands, okay, and here is the southern part of the East China Sea, and this is the eastern part of the Philippines Sea. Okay, so here are the Sakishima Islands, and two important things that we will note here is, see, this is mainland Japan. That is, Japan has four islands on its mainland, and even these smaller islands are a part of Japan. Now we will see the map of Japan, you will get a clear picture. This is the mainland. Mainland Japan has four main islands, that is Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu. Okay, and Japan is an archipelago. So now in the comments you will tell me what is an archipelago. Okay. So here are the Sakishima Islands again. Okay. Now there are some questions here. Names of tropical cyclones in different oceans. Quickly recall this and write it in the comments. And what are the conditions required for the formation of tropical cyclones? Then what is an archipelago and difference between an island and an archipelago. Okay. The next topic is visit to Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand will further strengthen India's Act East policy. Prime Minister. So we know this Prime Minister was on a tour. He visited these countries of Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand. So today we will see two developments. One is with respect to Australia, and with respect to New Zealand, we'll just see the map and certain geographical aspects. Okay. So this is PACT. PACT stands for Partnership on Cyber, Critical Technologies and Supply Chains. Okay, nothing much here. Cyber means with respect to cyber security. Critical technologies means what? You will tell me this and give me some examples also with respect to critical technology. Okay, and with respect to resilience and diversification of supply chains. So it has been bilaterally signed between India as well as Australia. This is the only information that is needed. Yes, this is the question. What are critical technologies? Give examples. Now, about New Zealand. See, New Zealand is located in the Pacific Ocean. Now, if we have a look at the precise location, so it is precisely located in the South Pacific Ocean to the southeastern side of Australia, and it is very close to the Tasman Sea as well. Tasman Sea is located to the southwestern part of New Zealand. Okay. Now, if you clearly have a look at this map, this is part of Pacific Ocean. Okay, Pacific Ocean has three major island regions. One is Micronesia, then you have Melanesia, then third you have Polynesia, and New Zealand is a part of the Polynesian chain of islands. Clear? Yes, we will also see some straits. First is the Cook Strait that we have. It is located here between the North and the South Islands. See, this entire region is New Zealand. This is the North Island, this is the South Island. So Cook Strait separates the North Island from the South Island. Okay. Next, we have the Fovu Strait. So this is New Zealand. Okay. If you can see, this is the South Island of New Zealand, and this is Stewart Island. Okay. Here is the Fovu Strait. Clear? It separates the South Island of New Zealand from the Stewart Island. Next we have is Jaishankar begins trip to four West Asian nations today. Will visit US July 13th. Okay. So External Affairs Minister of India has visited four West Asian countries. I think it is Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Oman. Okay. So today we will study about Oman and its geographical location. So this is Oman. You can see here. So you will tell me what is the capital of New Zealand first, and second, what is the capital of Oman. Okay. New Zealand and Oman, you will tell me the capitals. Now, seeing quickly about Oman, so it is part of the Arabian Peninsula. You can see this is Arabian Peninsula. Now you will also tell me what is meant by a peninsula. Today we saw so many geography related terms. What is an archipelago? What is an island? What is a peninsula? We also did see about tropical cyclones, right? So many things like this you will be covering when you see Typhoon Bavi, or maybe when you see Oman. You will not just see the location and just leave them. You will also try and study about them a little bit in detail. So this is how we do it, and this much detail is more than sufficient. Okay. Oman is a founding member of the Gulf Cooperation Council, and if you see the maritime borders, Arabian Sea bounds it to the south and the east here, and then you have Gulf of Oman to the north of Oman. Okay, these are the questions. Name the member countries of Gulf Cooperation Council first. Then, where is the headquarters of Gulf Cooperation Council? Then you have what is a peninsula. Okay. Next thing is over 80 families evacuated in Mizoram as overflowing river landslides disrupt normal life. So this is with respect to Kwat River. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, I'm very sorry. Okay, this is a transboundary river. Transboundary means it flows between two countries. Here, it flows between multiple countries. Here it is two countries. That is India and Bangladesh. Okay, it is internationally well known as Karnafuli River. It originates in the Lushai Hills of Mizoram. See, when you study this, it originates, instead of saying in Mizoram, if you study it originates in Lushai Hills of Mizoram. Now you understood two things, that the river originates in Mizoram also at the Lushai Hills, and Lushai Hills are located in Mizoram. Okay, it flows through Chittagong Hill Tract of Bangladesh and ultimately drains into the Bay of Bengal. Clear? Next we have is Bureau of Port Security. See, these are not very important topics, so we will quickly read about them. Okay, so Bureau of Port Security, it's a statutory body under the Merchant Shipping Act. See, which section and all of this is not important. Just remember, it's a statutory body under Merchant Shipping Act 2025. It is under Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. And what is its role? It's a central regulatory authority for maritime security across India's major as well as non major ports. Okay. Now you will tell me one thing, which is the central regulatory authority for ensuring aviation security in India. Please post this in the comments. Okay. Aviation security. Next we have is Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. It is implemented by the National Health Authority under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So what is this? It's a integrated citizen centric digital healthcare ecosystem in India. It has seven components. Now when we have a look at these seven components, more things will become clear about Ayushman Bharat digital mission. So first is Ayushman Bharat Health Account. It's a 14 digit unique digital health ID for citizens. Then there is Healthcare Professionals Registry, that is verified registry of all the healthcare professionals, that is doctors, nurses, paramedical staff, etc. Okay. Then there is Health Facility Registry, that is all the health facilities. For example, there are hospitals, there are diagnostic centers, there are pharmacies, right? So a registry of that also will be maintained. Then there is drug registry, that is standardized database of drugs. Next is health information exchange and consent manager, that is, see, patients have this mechanism or citizens have this mechanism of sharing their health records with the doctors, and this is completely based on consent of the citizens or the patients. Okay. Then you have unified health interface. See, this is an interface where citizens will be able to see what digital health services are offered, how can they make the booking, and all of these things. Okay. Next we have is National Health Claims Exchange. It's a platform for standardized health insurance claims. Yes, it helps in making health insurance claims very easy. That's it. I hope you've understood based on this, like how this entire Ayushman Bharat digital health mission functions. Okay. Next, we have is Trade Receivables Discounting System, TREDS. So it's a RBI regulated electronic platform. It enables MSMEs to get quick working capital by discounting their invoices raised on large corporates and government buyers. How this will work, we will see it properly step by step and also with an example. See, first thing is, you have to understand there are three stakeholders here, that is the seller, then there is the buyer, then there is a financial institution. Okay. So here sellers are MSMEs, then buyers are either the government or the corporates. Okay. Then financial institutions are banks and NBFCs. Okay. So first, the invoice is uploaded on threads either by MSME or buyer. Okay. See, invoice means bill. Okay. Let us say government or corporate has purchased goods and services from the MSMEs. So MSME will provide an invoice or bill. Okay. So this bill has to be uploaded on the portal, and this can either be done by the MSME itself or by the buyer. Okay. Then acceptance, the other party verifies and accepts the invoice. That means, let us say if MSME has uploaded the invoice, then a confirmation or acceptance will be provided by government or corporates depending on who is the buyer. If the government or the corporate is uploading the invoice, then MSME will accept it, saying that yes, this is the bill. Then the bidding process will happen, where banks and NBFCs will bid to finance the approved invoice. Okay. See, first of all, let me tell you why this happens is, now MSMEs will sell goods and services, right? um, the governments or the corporates may not be able to pay them money soon, and if money is not paid soon to the MSMEs, they are small, micro, small, medium enterprises. They require this working capital and it will obstruct their business. So that is why this trades related electronic trading electronic platform comes into picture. Okay. So it will help in providing early working capital, that is money, to the MSMEs. Okay. We are on the third step now. Bidding, banks, NBFCs will bid to finance the approved invoice. Then discounting, the MSME accepts the best bid and receives the discounted amount in T plus 1 day. T plus 1 means, let us say today the MSME has accepted. Okay. That yes, I will go with this bid. Then by tomorrow they will get their money or the working capital. Okay. Final payment on the due date, the buyer pays the full invoice amount to the financial. Okay. See here, the money will be paid by the financial institution to the MSMEs. Then on the due date, the buyer, that is the government or the corporate, will pay this money not to the MSME but to the banks or the NBFCs. Clear? We will see this example, don't worry. See, An MSME supplies goods worth rupees 10 lakh to a company with 60-day credit period. That is, within 60 days, this company has to pay money to the MSME. Okay, now the invoice is uploaded on Threads and is accepted by the other party. We have discussed the process already. Banks will bid and the MSME accepts a bid, for example, offering 9.9 lakh immediately. Within T plus 1 day, now MSME will get 9.9 lakh rupees. Okay, after 60 days, the buyer pays the full rupees 10 lakh to the bank and the NBFC, bank or the NBFC, and the difference 10,000 is the financiers discounting price. This is how the banks or the NBFCs will make money for themselves. Clear? Yes. So with this, we have completed all the current affairs for 11 July. If you have any doubts, want to avail these one-on-one sessions, we can have these sessions. I provide them at a very, very affordable price. And this is my Telegram ID, ABC42KA1. Can reach out to me anytime. I hope this video helps. Let me know the review of this video as well in the comments below. Thank you so, so much.